Across the Spider-Verse. The kid Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. That's what I call it. Did you guys enjoy the previous film, Into the Spider-Verse? I assume everyone did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, cool. This one, I finally got a chance to see it, I think, right before Too Many Games. And I had a great time. I actually, I didn't know what to expect with this one. I thought maybe they'd go a little overboard with all the spider cameos, and I guess they kind of did, but they made it work. But no, I found it like highly enjoyable. So basically, Miles Morales, it's a couple years later, he like fixed the hole in his universe, I guess, but there were problems. I like how they mentioned Spider-Man No Way Home. They're like, all right, you guys fucked up the multiverse, and so did that other Spider-Man.
Doctor Strange and the other Spider-Man.
Because I bet you there was someone at Sony being like, it doesn't make sense why the Vulture is in Morbius. Can you please make sense of it? And they went,
I'm sure everybody's concerned about that.
You know what? Before you give me that start, fucking Miss Chen from the Venom movies makes a cameo. So I'm pretty sure someone at Sony was like, you got to mention.
Terrible.
You know, like Miss Chen, she was the best character.
That was so bad. It's just like, whatever. I don't need no Spider-Man in my life. He leaves. It's so dumb.
So yeah, so different characters are being spread out across the multiverse, and it's up to Spider-Man 299 and his ragtag group of all the Spider-Mans ever joining in to hunt everyone down and send them back to their appropriate dimensions. So let's just go down the list here. Joey C., how did you feel about this film?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm spoiled with all my other superhero movies. There's no post-credit scene. But you know, it's funny. I've also seen comments that it wasn't woke enough, which is
really?
Like
because literally,
ridiculous.
listen, literally, when I scheduled this live stream, like the first comment we got was some guy going, "Across the Spider-Verse sucks. It has all this woke stuff." So that's a shock to me, Joey.
The movie did feel a bit long this time around. I thought 2 hours and 20 minutes was pushing it a bit. It felt a bit bloated and boring at times, but I still enjoyed it overall. I really dug the animation style of this movie. I thought it looked fucking awesome. It was probably the closest I've seen to like an actual movie. Like if you took a comic book and made it into a movie with like the art style and everything. It's obviously filled to the brim with characters, and it's filled to the brim with fan services, which is really cool. And the references to the MCU was awesome, and plus Spider-Man 2099 was cool as hell.
Yeah, I forgot everything I knew about Spider-Man 2099. He's a werewolf? What the fuck is he? Why is he a werewolf? What the fuck is going on here? I'm like, I never really read that character. I knew he existed. I couldn't remember anything about him. Gil, what did you think about Across the Spider-Verse?
I love the movie. I think I've only seen it once so far, but at least my experience of watching it, I feel like I enjoyed it even more than Spider-Verse. I feel like on the kind of spectacle side, they just did more of everything. Like Joey talked about how it felt like a comic book on screen. Well, now we're going to go to other universes where they have unique art styles, which I thought was really cool.
And live action. We get to see the live action Donald Glover, which I guess that's his MCU version of Prowler.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
The Insomniac Spider-Man, the video game, he makes an appearance in there, although I never play with that costume. I don't think anyone uses the default Spider-Man costume when they play that game. I'm always the Baghead Spider-Man who is in here, which I have a problem because Baghead Spider-Man isn't in his own universe. It's like Spider-Man had to borrow a suit from the Fantastic Four one day. He doesn't wear that all the time. Wyatt, what did you think of Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think like what Joey C was saying, it was a little long. I would have cut it off like maybe 10 minutes, shorter. There was one, I don't want to go into spoilers, but like there was one kind of cliffhanger, but one a huge twist that I think they just should have went out on towards the end, about 10 minutes before it actually ended.
It felt like there were like 3 cliffhangers. Like I kept waiting for like to be continued, and it just didn't come.
Exactly. So by that time, like that was another question. Did anybody else know this was supposed to be like a part 1?
Yes.
A 2-part thing. See, I didn't.
I
had
like, no idea either.
Yes.
I was watching it. I was like, man, they're going to have to wrap this up real quick or else they're going to have to go into like a to be continued territory. And sure enough, they did. But I thought it was great. The art styles were fantastic. I like the kind of the dual story between Gwen and Miles throughout the whole thing. I like that. And I think the whole explaining the Spider-Verse and the whole like canon events of all the Spider-Man, that was really well done. And I think it was explained that it wasn't too complicated. It was very easy to pick up on and kind of understand throughout the course of the movie. And Spider-Man 2099, he did nothing wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to like.
Are you like a Team Thanos guy too? Like, Thanos is the real hero.
I like the whole time he's explaining everything. I was like, okay, this makes sense.
I did see some people. Some people are like, wait a minute. So once they saved the Indian girl, that whole universe should have collapsed. But I think they make a point to say it doesn't collapse right away. Yeah, it's just like the sequence of events that's there will eventually cause that universe to collapse. But yeah, I agree with what you said. Adam, what did you think?
I liked it. I don't think I'm as high on the Spider Hog as you guys, but I did like it a lot.
His name is Spider
Ham, whatever. The first one I think was a little better because it was an actual completed story, whereas this one, like so far, it's pretty good, but I felt like kind of dirty when it was done because it just left you there. It just left you. It didn't clean up or anything. It's like, there you go. And I took my kids and we were all just kind of like, what the fuck? We're ending here? Like they built up for like 30 minutes. It was this big build up and then it was just nothing. It was over.
So you didn't know it was going to be a two-parter either?
I did. I knew that, but I was still annoyed at how long it took. It's not like Deathly Hallows Part 1 where Voldemort puts up the wand and it's like super obvious it's going to end there. It's like, Wyatt said, it just, there was like 3 cliffhangers. It's like, wrap up at some point.
Yeah.
And also, as far as the art style, I agree. Visually, it's insane. But it also kind of loses me in some spots because it's doing so many different art styles. It feels disjointed. The live action stuff being mixed in was a little weird. The Lego stuff was cute.
Which
also,
awesome. Which they actually
wanted to be consistent. And the Gwen Stacy, watercolor moments.
I like that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
it was pretty, but it was also kind of distracting. Like I'm not really focusing as much on what she's saying. I'm more like, what are we doing here with the background? It's melting, and so just a little bit too much style over substance for me this time. But I still really dug it.
I will say, I think I read that like the Lego thing was like a YouTuber who did a Lego version of like Into the Spider-Verse. He like animated the one sequence in Legos, and I think they hit him up afterwards to do that whole sequence in the movie. So that's actually really cool.
He was like a child.
I like how they're like you're one of our best Spider-Men. You're one of our best agents.
I like that they were like recycled audio for like, I don't think J.K. Simmons did anything new for this movie. I think they're just recycling audio from the old movies. I really enjoyed the Spot, Jason Schwartzman, who's in another movie we're going to talk about. That's a character I've never cared about. And I'm like, wow, they've actually made this character very, very interesting.
He was awesome. He was awesome.
Yeah, he was awesome. They had a lot of fun with like his fight scenes. He was really cool. You wouldn't think of him as the villain to take over the universe, to be honest.
And I like his metamorphosis like throughout the movie too. Like his design by the end is awesome.
Yeah, he's like more unstable toward the end. I kept like, because he kind of dips out of the movie for a while, and I forgot that he's supposed to be the main bad guy, because then Miguel becomes like the bad guy for a large part of the movie. I did like that classic Peter Parker is now a dad. I thought that was fun. He's got, like, I don't know why he's bringing his baby with him to all this stuff.
You could make the argument that there was like an emergency. He had to run and he had the baby with him. But then later we see him very intentionally go back for her.
Yeah, that's right.
I like the revelation that Gwen Stacy killed her Peter Parker, like on accident, but like they kind of left that vague in the last one. I think they just said he died. They didn't mention that he was the lizard, apparently.
Yeah, you see it for a second in the first one as she's explaining it. I think you see his silhouette transform from the lizard into Peter. Yeah. But yeah, it was cool to see it explicitly, like her POV of the story, this movie.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay. Anything else? How would you compare this to No Way Home when it comes to or any of the multiverse stuff that's happened recently? So like No Way Home, Doctor Strange, and The Flash. How would you compare this to that? anyone can say it.
I thought it was handled way better than those other ones.
Really?
The multiverse in this movie felt like part of the story and not just like a gimmick. It felt really
It
connected.
wasn't just fan service.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, remember this.
Yeah.
Remember this.
It's more than just cameos.
Yes.
Which I like the second Doctor Strange movie, but that whole Illuminati thing is just a commercial for Disney Plus. Like all those characters were handpicked to remind you of Disney Plus properties. And the same thing with the Flash. It's like, let's remind you of all our Warner stuff that you can watch on Max right now. But yeah, so there were a couple, like, like I said, the Insomniac Spider-Man, the Venom universe shows up, Andrew Garfield shows up, but like for the most part, they're like, here's another cool Spider-Man. He does this. This one's a T-Rex. It's actually doing it right, where it's like, I want to see different versions of these characters, not just cameos. Although I do still really like No Way Home. I enjoyed that one a lot.
I like the one that's just constantly narrating while he's doing stuff. Like when they're searching for.
That was Ben Riley. Like Ben Riley has become like the most hated Spider-Man. Do any of you know that story from the '90s, the Clone Saga? It's one of the worst. So it's one of the worst sagas ever because it's like Ben Riley shows up and he's a clone of Peter Parker, but then it was revealed that he really was Peter Parker, and the Peter Parker for the previous 20 years was the clone, and then fans went, what? That sucks. And then they had to like backtrack. And then Ben Riley afterwards just hung around being a real loser. So I like how in this movie he's like, I'm just so sad. And then he's like, I'm doing an epic pose.
Perfect pose.
But yeah, it was nice seeing like a cool version of the Rhino, knowing that they're about to ruin him in the Kraven movie. By making him a fucking mutant Rhino Man. Just
don't you want to know why they call him Rhino, Tony?
Look, you could do Rhino. You can put him in a robot suit. It just can't look like a transformer like the last one. It's like, but now they're like, all right, we won't do the suit. We're gonna make him a mutant Rhino Man. I'm like, oh my god, no, that's terrible. That's the worst thing you could do. And now Kraven's got lion powers. I'm like, that's not his origin.
Yeah.
What the fuck is even happening? So yeah, I guess do any of you have like a favorite Spider-Man that has been mentioned yet?
I mean, I like the Western one. That he like shoots webs out of his shotgun.
That was cool.
That one, yeah, that's probably my answer.
Yeah, Adam, do you have a favorite one?
I can't remember his name. The Indian Spider-Man. I liked him a lot. He was awesome.
Oh yeah, he was cool.
He was really cool.
I loved how cocky he was.
Yeah, I liked the Spider-Punk.
Oh
Yeah,
we
he
didn't
was
even mention
good.
him. Yeah.
And again, Fat Lady Spider-Man. I want to know her deal. I need to know more about that. I'm like, didn't expect that Spider-Man to come out.
And I like with Spider-Punk though, like when they're walking throughout like the whole facility, when he's just like, you barely notice it. It's like a one-off thing where he's just grabbing stuff, like different parts. Okay. He's like, "You're just gonna take that?" He's like, "Yeah." And then it actually comes up later in the movie why he was doing that. And it's
he was cool because like I feel like because he says he hates consistency, and like to show that like his art style is constantly changing. Like every other second, he's drawn differently. I'm like that. Must have taken for fucking ever to do.
His guitar looks like it's cut out of a magazine every time. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, Across the Spider-Verse, I thought it was great. I liked all three cliffhangers, even though there were too many cliffhangers. I like where it left off. I thought that was a pretty interesting premise to see how he's going to get out of that. I like the whole like revelation, not to spoil too much, but like Miles is an anomaly because he wasn't supposed to be bitten.
Oh, so we are spoiling things. Okay.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I thought
not to spoil anything, honestly, but here's the biggest twist in the movie.
That was freaking brilliant. I thought that was such clever writing, and it really, I mean, it's like, okay, Miles is here. Everybody else is a Peter Parker. I don't understand why. And then boom, they hit you with it. Yeah. Almost like it was planned out from the first film. I don't know if any of it was, but very, very clever. Because
he's going to have to prove himself as Spider-Man again. I think I think the last movie he had to prove he was Spider-Man to himself, and then going forward, he's got to prove that he's Spider-Man to like everyone else. I will say, criminal lack of Nicolas Cage. He didn't show up until much like the Flash. He didn't show up to the very end, and he was CGI. So they really got to go overboard on Cage on the next one. I need more Cage because he was the best part. I'm actually shocked how much they sidelined all those other Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Like I think only Spider-Ham and then Penny were the only ones who came back. But yeah, that's it for Across the Spider-Verse.